I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. You guys can probably tell from the title of this video and all around me, today's going to be all about alocasias. Alocasias are some of my favorite species of plants. I absolutely love alocasias. So I wanted to come on here and I wanted to give you guys some care tips and also kind of go over one-on-one my collection of alocasias. I have about 5 alocasias in my collection, and care-wise they're about the same, but I'm still gonna go into depth on each alocasia and their specific needs and kind of tell you a little bit about them. I feel like alocasias kind of get a little bit of a bad rep. I feel like they're always kind of bundled in the same category as like a calathea. Alocasias do have specific care needs, but once you have that down, they will flourish, they will thrive, and you will have beautiful alocasias in your collection. So I hope this video will kind of shed some light on alocasias and help you guys understand their care needs a little bit better so that maybe in the future you guys will want to add an alocasia to your collection. But before we get into that, like I always say, please like this video at the end of the video if you love this kind of content. I hit 1,000 subscribers. I'm so excited. I'm so happy. Like, yay, thank you guys all so much. And if you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Amanda, Botanical Brunette, and please consider subscribing. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about these alocasias. Let's just start off this video with talking about some alocasia care tips. These are care tips that I do personally in my own alocasia collection. So I'm gonna share those, but do keep in mind that everybody's care tips are gonna be a little bit different than mine, but kind of just take mine and kind of maybe just add it into your lifestyle. So let's start with lighting. For my alocasias, I like to keep my alocasias in bright indirect light or under a grow light. For all of my alocasias, except for my Regal Shield back here, which you can kind of see, they're in my plant room, which you guys, if you see my plant tour, you've seen my plant room, and see how bright it can get. It has a southeast and northeast facing window, so you get that bright morning light and kind of filtered indirect light in the afternoon. It kind of is shaded by my roof when it kind of comes up. My Regal Shield for now is in my dining room area. It doesn't get a ton of light. I'm having it kind of quarantined in there. This is such a big plant that I don't want to bring it into my plant room with me having thrips already. Still kind of dealing with that, and I don't want to have another plant that I have to deal with. So for now, that plant is actually in a north facing window. My Regal Shield gets bright like evening sun, but it's kind of sprinkled through my window and through my blinds. So it doesn't get a ton of light, but enough where we actually even have a new growth coming out. So I think it's liking it over there. I'm kind of hoping that it just adapts somehow to that area because it just looks so good where it is. But who knows, we'll kind of see. The plants that are not in the northeast or southeast facing window are under grow lights. So for this Alocasia Michelitziana, I have this under my grow lights. I have found that this is just popping off under my grow lights. We actually, I don't know if you guys can see, we'll kind of pop this in there, but we have this new little leaf. I'll show you guys in a minute, but we have a new little leaf kind of coming out, and this thing constantly is growing new growth under the grow lights. That is doing really well under grow lights, and we have them under bright light and a little bit of like a medium to low light. Again, I wouldn't recommend putting your alocasia in a low light area. You want to put your alocasias in a bright indirect light. I know every plant in the world pretty much needs bright indirect light, but I would say somewhere that maybe gets some morning or afternoon sun. You just kind of have to play with it. You'll just have to kind of feel it out. Obviously, if, like any plant, if you have it in a too bright area, the leaves will burn. So just kind of be cautious of that as well. When in doubt, for me, put them under grow lights. That's what I would do. My Michelitziana was not happy until I put it under the grow lights, and then it just blossomed. It just kept producing new growth, and now I have like 6 leaves on this plant, which is crazy, like, because I started out with 3 little tiny leaves. So that's lighting. Like I said, bright indirect light or grow lights are best. For watering, Watering is a little bit tricky. For me, I water all of my alocasias strictly with distilled water. I only water my alocasias and my caletheas with distilled water. I just find that it doesn't burn the leaves. I have read, I don't remember where, I wish I could source it, but I don't remember where I was reading this, but it basically said that like alocasias have very sensitive leaves, like a calethea, and they need like a distilled water. You can go out to the store and buy distilled water, or you can also take your filtered water or filtered tap water and leave it out for 24 hours, and that will kind of help evaporate some of any leftover chemicals that are in the water. Also, rainwater is amazing as well. You can water your plants with rainwater. Any plant you can water with rainwater, and it's amazing. I water them about, I feel like I water them all different. My Michelitziana, I water that about every 5 days. It will really tell me when I need to water it. The leaves will, instead of being perky like this, will start to kind of droop down, just not have that perky they normally do. And you'll also notice that like their stems won't be as stiff. I notice that like when my alocasia needs some water, their stems are a little more like pliable. Just keep an eye on that as well. Also, you can always check it with your fingers, do the finger test, or you can also just test it with a moisture meter. Kind of with watering, I would say for soil mixture, the chunkier the better. Aeroid soil is probably the best for alocasias. And as you guys can kind of see, I don't want to like throw this down, but I have like really chunky bark. For my alocasias and like any aeroids that I have, I mix equal parts orchid bark, coarse perlite, and potting soil. I use Fox Farm Ocean Forest, but you can use whatever potting soil you use. I really want like my alocasias to drain. I have had such a bad reputation in the past for root rotting my plants, which I can now luckily say that I haven't done that in a while. I had such a bad reputation a few months ago about like root rotting my plants, and it just was like a constant thing for me that I would rather water my plants more often than me root rotting them. Once I water any of my alocasias, they drain like that. I give them a good soak with the water and let that bark and perlite and even charcoal kind of just wash that through. Humidity is super important for alocasia care. I keep my alocasias at about 50 to 60% humidity. I run my humidifiers about 8 hours a day. As you can see, my Michelitziana really loves the humidity. It sits right behind it. So let's go into my Alocasia collection and I'll show you, and you get to meet all my alocasias. Let's start with this guy, my Alocasia Michelitziana. So this alocasia is my #1 favorite alocasia. I get questions about this alocasia all the time. This alocasia is so easy, except for the fact that it's a little bit needy. I do need to water it more often. But once you get that down, once you get that watering schedule down, you're golden. You got this. I absolutely love the velvetiness of these leaves. They're just so dreamy. They're so beautiful. And it's just such a pretty plant. I had one in the beginning. So this plant I've had for about maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit more. But I had an Alocasia Michelitziana about 1.5 years ago. I got my first one and that died within, I would have to say like 2 months maybe. So I kind of just tossed that one out and I was like, let's start over again. Let's just try it again because I love them so much. And I've had great success with this guy. This guy, again, sits under my grow lights, so I think that may be the thing. I don't know. I am not 100% sure, but that's just kind of what I've experienced, is it just thrived under the grow lights. So that's my Michelitziana. And then I'm gonna talk to you guys about a newer plant that I have because you can probably see it in frame right now. So this is my Alocasia odora. So this alocasia is a newer plant in my collection. This is actually a plant that you will see in my plant haul. This is a plant that I actually got this month. So this is a newer plant. So we're still figuring each other out. The leaves on this plant are, I mean, what attracted me to this plant. I went to a grand opening at a local plant shop and they had this for sale and I just had to get it. I had to. I saw it and I was like, done. Like, price was good. I'm gonna get it. You'll find out how much I got it for at my plant haul in a couple weeks. But yeah, so this plant is just amazing. I don't have a ton of like tricks for this plant specifically because I just got it. So I don't know. So we'll figure each other out. Maybe by the time the plant haul rolls around that I'll have a little bit more to talk about. But for now, it's just beautiful. And that's all I have to say about it. The next plant that I want to talk about is a plant that I've had for a little bit. And it's a alocasia that I have that is struggling a little bit, but it's such an odd alocasia that I don't even know if it's struggling or not. But this is my alocasia, my Alocasia Tiny Dancer. So, of course I named it Elton because, you know, the song. But Elton is just not doing great. He's so, like, I don't know if this is just like common for these plants, but he's just very long. Like, look how long that is. And it's just got these little like meep, these little like tiny little meep leaves. Like, he's just so wonky and awkward. Like, he's wonky and awkward, but there's just something about him that's just like adorable. This is also a plant that is under grow lights. It's actually right next to the Alocasias, so it's doing good, I guess. I don't really know, but I mean, it has new growth. It just popped out this little guy, so I don't know. We're just kind of winging it right now. And then the next plant is probably the first, well, it's the first plant that I got in my collection. This is another wonky boy. This is my Alocasia boa. I actually got this plant and my first Alocasias at the same time. So I've had this plant for over a year and he's doing great. I mean, like, this plant started in a 4-inch pot. Like, it started in a tiny little 4-inch pot, and now this is like a 10-inch pot and it's huge. Like, it's huge. It's like, but it's also kind of like weird and wonky. So I'm gonna put this down. So honestly, like, the reason why I bought that Alocasia is because I am absolutely in love. And this is my next wishlist plant. I know that you guys saw that I got my Gloriosum finally. So my next wishlist plant is going to be the Alocasia Zebrina. I want one so bad. That is going to be my next wishlist plant. Hopefully I'll get that soon. That's what attracted me to the boa, is the fact that it was inexpensive, and also it had those really crazy, really cool stripy stems, which that is the reason why I want an Alocasia Zebrina so bad. So I got the Alocasia boa for that reason, and also the fact that it's just so crazy. It's cool looking. The leaves on it kind of remind me of the sculpture that gets made in Beetlejuice, that like weird creepy sculpture. The leaves just remind me of that for some reason, so I just think it's just a very like odd plant, but I love it so much. And then my last and final plant that I want to talk about today is my Alocasia Regal Shield. This Alocasia sits, like I said, in a medium to lower light setting. We're gonna kind of feel it out and see how this plant does, but for now these leaves are just so big and beautiful, and I just absolutely love this plant so much. I love the fact that the leaves are like a dark green, and then they go into like a really dark, like rich royal purple underneath. That's just so pretty to me. Like, I absolutely love like weird plants like that. And that was actually my last plant haul, so I have only had it for a little bit, but we're still trying to figure each other out, and right now I'm trying to keep it away from the thrips. You can also see I have a new little leaf kind of coming out, so we're really excited about that. Hopefully it's another giant one like I have. So that's my Alocasia Regal Shield. So that is it. That is my care tips for Alocasias and my Alocasia collection. I'm telling you guys, Alocasias are not super hard to take care of. Once you get a care routine down for an Alocasia, you can just keep repeating that, as far as I'm aware, and they do completely fine. I've had so many Alocasias in my collection. I've had one for over a year. So I felt like I knew enough to be able to kind of let you guys know like kind of what I'm doing. And also I get a lot of questions on my alocasias, and I've also heard a lot of people say like I steer clear from alocasias because they get a reputation just like a calathea, and I don't want to deal with that heartbreak. Just keep in mind that they're not that bad, they're not that scary, and they're so beautiful. Well, that's it for today. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical.